Hey everybody, this is my waterfall tank, even though we've got the waterfall part of it temporarily shut down. But today I am going to do a really simple filter change on my little hang on the back filter that I keep on the side here. This was always meant to be sort of supplemental filtration, but now that the waterfall is no longer flowing, that little filter on the side has to do the work of all of the filtration and circulation and everything. And right now we've got a little bit of reduced flow, and the filter itself is clogged up enough that you can see I've got the backflow. When the filter gets clogged, in order to prevent catastrophe, you get backflow that comes out this side rather than flooding your fish room or whatever. So all I got to do is pop that little pad out, put a new filter in. I'm going to rinse the bio sponge out, and then everything will be flowing properly. But I've been on the theme of what constitutes a dirty aquarium, and today we are going to talk about what constitutes a dirty filter and why that is not any concern to me whatsoever, and what you think of as a dirty filter may not be as much of an issue as you think. There is, however, a potential danger in having a very dirty filter, but it may not be what you think. So today we're going to sit down and talk all about filtration.
So let's start by identifying the primary purpose and primary function of our filter. Now, if you're thinking that the primary purpose of our filter is to filter the water, then you're wrong. It's not. The primary purpose of our filter is to move water. It's simply for circulation. And I'll explain why, but first we're going to explain step by step how a filter works. And we're going to go real basic and simple. And I know it really is kind of self-explanatory as we go along, but there's a point to all this. So first of all, the water gets pumped in and it goes through your mechanical filtration. That's your little filter pad, whether it's filter floss or whatever you call it. Same holds true whether it's a canister filter or one of these little hang on the backs. All the components are basically the same. It's just more or less a different shape. The water goes in, it goes through that mechanical filtration, and that basically filters out all the little floating bits of fish poop and dead leaves and so on and so forth. From there, the water flows through your biological filtration, which is nothing more than surface area, or you can think of it as real estate, for beneficial bacteria to live. And as the water flows over that bacteria, it oxidizes the waste material, the ammonia and the nitrite, and it oxidizes it down to nitrate, and that's how you get your biological filtration, and then the water flows back into your aquarium. Now you can spruce that up by putting some chemical filtration in there. You can put some carbon in there. You can add other types of things, but all of that stuff depends on water flowing through it. Your filter pad is not going to filter out the fish poop out of the water if the water's not flowing through it. Your biological filtration is not going to filter the ammonia out of the water if the water's not flowing through it. So all that filter really does is move water, and then it conveniently puts in a mechanical filtration and a little area for you to allow for some biological filtration. So in my case, in my tank itself has enough biological filtration going on that I don't really need that little black sponge thing in there. If I took that out, my tank would be just fine. There's enough bacteria living within the tank that as long as the water is still circulating and flowing through the tank, I'm going to be just fine when it comes to biological filtration. If you've got a bare glass tank and nothing in it, well, now you need to depend solely, almost entirely, on that little black sponge, that little piece of biofiltration, or if you've got a canister filter, again, now the filtration within your filter becomes a lot more important. In my case, the tank provides plenty of biological filtration, so I don't need that little biofilter in there. As far as the mechanical filtration, that's something that we need to talk a little more about, because a lot of people really don't think about that properly either. They think about when this stuff gets trapped and caught in your filter that it's somehow being removed from your aquarium, and it's not. It's being removed from your site but it's not being removed from the aquarium. The analogy I use is, imagine if you're in a swimming pool and they have those little floating baskets on the side where like leaves and debris, it's basically a surface skimmer. Any floating material that goes in there will get trapped in those baskets, but the water can freely flow right back into the swimming pool. Now, imagine if there was a dirty diaper in that basket. Would you swim in that pool? Would you say, oh, that's out of the pool, that dirty diaper's not in the pool anymore because it's trapped in that little basket over there? Well, that's exactly what's going on with the fish poop that's in your aquarium. It gets sucked into the filter and it gets trapped in that pad or whatever, but the water's still just flowing right over it and flowing back into the aquarium. It's not out of the aquarium any more than that dirty diaper is out of the pool when it gets caught in that little skimmer thing. It's simply out of your sight. You can't see the stuff swirling around in the water anymore, but it's still in your tank as far as whatever it's going to be doing in your tank. So if you're somebody that really doesn't care that you've got a little bit of stuff swirling around in your water, I honestly don't really need to have that little filter pad in there either. So as far as I'm concerned, the filter is nothing more than a very elaborate power head that moves water around my tank. If I can collect up some detritus in the process, that's great. If a little bit of biological filtration happens as it's moving through there, that's great too. I don't have any problem with doing that. But if I pulled both of those pads out of there, if I took the little black sponge and my little mechanical filter out of there and just let water flow through that would be fine too. It wouldn't bother me a bit. So that's why I say it's just not a problem for me when I see that water backflowing and flowing back into the aquarium. But there is a potential problem with a dirty filter. It's not necessarily dirty in the sense that it's going to cause infection or illness or something like that. That's what I think of when I think of dirty. It is unclean, unhealthy, unsafe. But a dirty filter is a clogged filter. A filter where water's not flowing anymore is what you have to worry about. And that can happen over time for a couple reasons. You can either get the crud that builds up on the inside of the plumbing, the little biological growth that happens in there. That can get so grown in there that the water can barely flow through the filter anymore. That will greatly reduce the amount of flow that's coming from your filter. And you can simply get so much stuff stuck on the intake. Not so much the filter pad. The filter pad, as we just saw, will cause a backflow and it'll just stop filtering, but the water will keep flowing. If the intake end of it gets clogged up with leaves and debris and stuff like that, or if you have a filter or a pre-sponge on there and that pre-sponge starts getting really clogged up, that will restrict your water flow too. And it's that reduced water flow that's going to cause you problems. You can have dead zones where you don't get enough gas exchange, and you can have really, really poor oxygenation in certain areas. Again, with the limited gas exchange, you can have CO2 buildup, which can cause pH swings and pH crashes. So you really, really do want to maintain the appropriate amount of circulation. And I say appropriate amount. That doesn't mean vigorous circulation. Not all aquariums are the same. Every aquarium is going to need its own amount of circulation based on the setup, the size, the fish, the decor. There's a lot of variables that go into it, but there's an appropriate amount of circulation for each system. And maintaining that amount of circulation is what's important. So when I come in and have a quick glance at my tanks and I'm trying to decide, do I need to do anything to that? Does this need, I probably think about things a little differently than a lot of you might. For one, stuff being on the glass isn't something I need to be concerned about. I worry about things like the plants growing out of control or blocking too much light. I worry about the filters getting clogged up and stuff like that. And when I look in there to check to see if the filters need any attention, I basically just check the flow. As long as there's good vigorous flow coming out of the filter, I don't worry too much about it. Now in this case over here with this one where it's backflowing and everything, what that really does for me is it changes the sound of the aquarium. The way the water babbles and gurgles and backsplashes, it just changes all those little notes and tones, and when I walk past it sounds different to me, and that sound is what makes me want to go ahead and replace the filter and get it all flowing properly so it sounds like what I'm used to it sounding like. it has nothing to do with it being dirty or unclean for the fish or an unhealthy environment. It simply doesn't sound right to me because the water is splashing in the wrong sort of way for what I'm used to hearing. And so I'm going to go ahead and fix it so that my aquarium sounds appropriate, if that makes any sense. But sound is really important to me when it comes to my aquariums. That's why I don't like a lot of splashing water a lot of times, and air bubbles and air pumps and stuff like that. And again, the sound of this aquarium is what's driving me to fix that filter or change that filter or whatever, not the dirtiness of it. So there you go. That's my 2 cents. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the whole topic there. We will talk more about this as time goes on. It's an interesting topic, and it seems like one that really should be addressed. I think a lot of us think about our aquariums in the wrong sort of way. We think about cleanliness as though our aquatic environment is somehow the same environment we live in, and we're trying to hold it to the same standards, and it's just not. It's not the same standards that we live by. A mucky, filthy, disgusting bottom of a pond is not something you would want to live in, but for a pond, it's golden. It's necessary. So what your idea of dirty is, again, it's sort of a theme I've been addressing in the last few videos, and we'll probably talk more about this coming up if it's something you're interested in. So let me know if you're interested in it. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to check out my other channel, Dan's Outdoors and More. There's a link down below, yada yada, all that good stuff. Like, subscribe, so on and so forth. I do memberships now, the whole 9 yards. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you real soon in the next one.